want to see a film. I want to go back to it and reiterate what I said here earlier. I don't want to see a film based on emotion entirely. What I want to see here is a film with enough emotion to keep fans of emotional films intact, and I want to see a film where there's a lot of kicking the shit out of you happening. And if we get a film with a lot of emotion and a lot of ass kicking, that is going to be a film that is going to keep people coming back to probably see it 2 or 3 times. And I'm going to reiterate that because I want to be clear. I don't want to see a film that is a 2-hour film based on emotion strictly. I want to see a film that is based on emotion, action, and compellingness, that is going to want you to see another Twilight film created, or a spin-off that is equally as effective as Twilight. Now, what do we have to replace Twilight now that we know there's going to be no more Twilight films for years like 2013 and 2014? It was said The Hunger Games was going to be as popular as Twilight, and Twilight fans had to move over to make room for Hunger Games fans because they had a book series that was equally as promoted as much as Twilight was when it was first introduced to fans as a novel. We know the sequel to The Hunger Games is being released over the next few months, but I really don't think, even with celebrity support from Taylor Swift, who lend tracks to the film for the soundtrack, I don't think The Hunger Games is going to be as successful as Twilight. I really don't. Entertainment believes it's going to be, but I don't buy into it. When I see The Hunger Games reaching the #1 spot in the box office and maintaining it just as long or longer than Twilight, I will believe it. They have reached the #1 spot in the box office, but did they maintain it as long as Twilight? They maintained it for a significant amount of time, but not enough for me to buy into the fact that it was more successful than Twilight. Hell no, it's not as successful as Twilight. I just don't want to believe it. I don't think really there's anything that can replace Twilight. I think we will see several spin-offs. We might see 5 to 6 spin-offs a year when Twilight finishes up. 2 years after Twilight is not being produced anymore, we're going to see spin-offs continuing to be released. We saw a parody of it, Vampire Sucks. We've seen the Vampire Diaries created, which is nothing more than a spin-off. They even referenced the Twilight books in Season 1 of the Vampire Diaries. They consistently reference Twilight. They referenced Twilight, I think, in the Fright Night remake that was released on Blu-ray and DVD a while back. They're consistently referencing Twilight, which, kind of leads me to believe that we'll never see that cease to exist. Long after Twilight is finished up, it will still continue to resonate, and it will still be around. Does it upset me? It upsets me a little bit. Not to the point where I want to kill myself or anything, but I think that things should be put in the past and left in the past and occasionally resignated. Okay, if we reach 25 years since there's been a Twilight, I can see a special 25th anniversary Blu-ray being released, or a 20-year anniversary Blu-ray being released, or even a 10-year anniversary Blu-ray being released. But we don't consistently need to be seeing this being brought up. You need to lay it to rest and leave it be. You don't need to consistently be referring back to how successful Twilight was and how there will be nothing that will ever beat it. It could be true. There will be nothing that will ever beat Twilight, and as good as Twilight was, it'll never beat some of the successful film franchises we have seen over the years, like Friday the 13th, Halloween, The Wolfman. It'll never beat it, because they were blockbusters back in the 70s and 80s, and nothing will ever top it. And there are going to be films to be released in the future that are never going to top the success of Twilight. That is definite. That is inevitable, just as inevitable as death is. But the fact is, I think that now that Twilight is finishing up, we don't need to consistently be going back and referring back to how successful Twilight is and getting all depressed because this is over. You need to kind of get up out of the theater after you see it, accept what happens and move on. And I hope we get up out of the theater and we don't have any unanswered questions. I hope all the questions that we had going into the film are answered by the time the 2.5-hour film is over. I'm anticipating it to be at least a 2.5-hour film. Anywhere between 2 hours and 15 minutes to 2 hours and a half is what I'm mounting this film to be, because of the tale that's going to be thrown at you. Like I said, so much is going to be thrown at you in the final part. The birth of Renesmee, the transition that Bella is going to be making from a teenager into a vampire. A certain portion of the film is going to be her defending her family's honor and discovering her ability, of course, which is a shield. I will give that much away for you. And of course the conflict that will resonate compiling from the original Twilight films, and what conflict will arise from Breaking Down Part 1 and in the actual Breaking Down Part 2 film. The turnout at the red carpet premiere was astonishing. I will rate the turnout at least 4 out of 5 stars on a 5-star scale perspective, and in anticipation of the worldwide release of this film over the next few days, I'm going to rate this film at least 4.5 out of 5 stars. Basically, I'm giving this film a 5 out of 5 rating based on the success of previous Twilight films, and that's what I'm basing my analogy of the success of the final Twilight film on. Based on the success of these previous Twilight films, that's why I think this film can safely be rated 5 out of 5 stars on a 5-star scale perspective, and this film will go places, and the Blu-ray and DVD will fly off the shelves this coming February. I will reiterate one more time for you what I said here earlier. There is no guaranteed success for the Twilight cast after Twilight finishes up. They're headed in a very uncertain direction and in a very uncertain road that certainly isn't paved with success. It's paved with something. I don't know what, but I know it's not success. But I know we will see them again. The reason why they are still achieving success, I will reiterate that as well, is because they're still having Twilight films produced while they're doing things outside of Twilight. Remember Me, Water for Elephants, and Snow White and the Huntsman are prime examples of films that were produced while Twilight was still being filmed. And that's why they achieved success. It gave them something to do in between the releases of Twilight, because they couldn't always rely on Twilight to give them success. And now they're at a point in their career where Twilight is not there to rely on anymore. They have to rely on their acting ability, they have to rely on their own confidence to get them places, and they have to rely on that same fan support from films like Twilight being carried over to films they have coming out in the future. You can check out the websites of all the cast members for further information on some projects they have coming up. I would like to wish all the cast members of Twilight the best in their future endeavors. It's been fun for me over the last 5 years talking about all the Twilight films. I've been excited just as much as many of the Twilight fans have been, and it's been a real enjoyable experience for me talking about the Twilight films and the success of them over the last few years, and I really wish that I could do it again in 2013. Hopefully the cast members will have something out productive as Twilight, as much as Twilight at least, to talk about in 2013, but that remains to be seen. I highly doubt it. I'm in hopes we'll see them again. It's just been an enjoyable experience for me, and I hope that you have enjoyed hearing what I've had to say on the Twilight saga after all these years. I'm your host, Jonathan Clarke, inviting you to join the conversation happening on my Facebook page at facebook.com/HW Entertainment. You can follow me on Twitter, where you can see the Breaking Dawn Part 2 trailer in its entirety at twitter.com/JonathanClarke1, and you can watch me on YouTube, where you'll find past video archives where I've referenced the Twilight saga at youtube.com/JonathanClarke22. How this is going to go, I'm going to archive it on my YouTube channel for comments and opinions. You can also reach me on Facebook and Twitter. youtube.com/JonathanClarke22 is where you'll find this video blog, along with all the video archives I've made over the last few weeks. Some brand new videos uploaded on our YouTube channel. Our Twitter is now featuring over 6,000 tweets, and we have almost 1,400 fans listening to us on our Facebook page at facebook.com/HW Entertainment, which you can now subscribe to. I'm your host, Jonathan Clarke. Thank you so much for joining me for my look at the final Twilight film. I will see you next week. The latest from Kesha and Die Young is coming at you next.
When something takes place in the world of professional wrestling, you know where to go. WrestleZone.com. WrestleZone.com. Covering all the latest breaking news daily. Interactive forums where you can chat with thousands of other wrestling fans. Exclusive editorials and audio features by some of today's top wrestling superstars. Exclusive video content, weekly polls, live play-by-play coverage of every WWE and TNA pay-per-view. And now, featuring WrestleZone Radio, live with news, in-depth discussions, debates, and interviews with wrestling's top stars, past and present. When you think wrestling, think WrestleZone. WrestleZone.com.
He considers himself God's gift to wrestling, and millions of his faithful agree. With nearly 4 hours of footage and exclusive commentary and matches, this DVD chronicles Daniel's rise from Chicago's Windy City Wrestling to the Asylum in Nashville, and finally to the top of TNA. TNA Home Video presents Heaven Sent, Hell Bound, the best of Christopher Daniels. Available at most retailers and TNAWrestling.com.
Hey, you right there, the one listening to this show. While you're tuning into this broadcast or when you read the news on WrestleZone.com, are you forming opinions of it all? Or do you just agree with everything you see and hear? If you actually have some sort of afterthought, which, by the way, is normal, we want to know what it is. There are thousands of wrestling fans just like you that simply can't hold their thoughts in either, and they let it all out in our interactive forums. You have a voice, so use it. Simply visit forums.WrestleZone.com. Don't just be active, be reactive in the official WrestleZone.com forums. For all the latest in mixed martial arts, be sure to visit WrestleZone's sister site, SureDog.com. Complete with daily news, exclusive video, interviews, live radio broadcast, interactive forums, and the very popular Fight Finder with bios and complete match-by-match histories of your favorite fighters. SureDog is the only place you need when it comes to mixed martial arts. Visit SureDog.com today.
Hi, my name is Adam Nudelman, but I play the Phantom on the radio. I'm here to remind you that, screw that, my book, Mysteries of Wrestling Solved, is available at finer bookstores everywhere. That stupid fake voice, I hate it. I wrote a book along with Sir Adam Kleinberg called Mysteries of Wrestling. It has the questions that you wanted answered. Why does Steve Austin hate Jeff Jarrett? Are referees really blind and stupid and dumb? Who is actually the toughest wrestler in the business outside of the ring? Hulk Hogan, The Rock, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Kamala. We get down and dirty with insider facts you've never read about anywhere else. So what are you waiting for? It makes a great stocking stuffer. You're too short, you buy 3 of them, you get taller, you just stand on them. Mysteries of Wrestling Solved by ECW Press, written by Sir Adam